Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's your friend Siren Frost, and today I'm doing the final segment on Dark Irregulars. So this is going to be a third deck profile of Dark Irregulars, but this time it's going to be a tad bit different. It's actually going to be the debut of a new Dark Irregular archetype, and we all been hoping and praying and hoping to God that it comes out. It's the series, it's the Nightmareland series. The deck of nightmares. Now, listen, there's been some few speculations and some few little rumors back then that when the first two cards I was aware of were going to come out, which were Dark Queen of Nightmareland and Dark Knight of Nightmareland, I'm figuring that everyone's probably going to get a support, like, official archetype for this one. Now, over time, there's been some little support for Nightmarelands. But now there has been now an official archetype for it called Nightmarelands. And I'm here doing a deck profile debut of it, which I'm very quite happy to look forward to. So, without any further ado, let's get on the deck profile. So my new starting Vanguard for this is called Spade, Jack of Nightmareland. He's actually a pretty damn cool card. I've seen some people actually play him at 2, or something like that. But I usually play him at 1, just to give him a good feel to it. After all, this is basically a debut deck, so it's not really that big of a ruling there. Now, his skill is, because I need to read this. When your unit rides this unit, you draw a free card, and choose a card from your hand and place it into your soul. So, yeah, even though he's a 4K body, you are able to draw one free card, and you soul charge a free card. Like, that's not really a bad thing to have. And his secondary skill is, because I need to read this, Soul Power. During your turn, when your G unit stride, you may call this to rearguard, and if you do, soul charge 1. So the first ability lets you draw one free card, and you put one card in your soul, and it does count as soul charge. Then, if you have a G unit that strides, you may call this to rearguard, and if you do, you soul charge another card. So he also helps you with soul charging. Now, listen, I've been using the same some cards in this deck that, are very quite familiar. But this is why I think it's a good build so far, and I'm willing to give it a shot. So yeah, 1 Spade Jack. Then we're playing 8 crits, 4 stands, and 4 heals in this deck. And the 4 heals, which I definitely am in love with the most, is 4 copies of Alice of Nightmareland. Because Alice was a badass as a doll, and now she's Alice in the Nightmareland. So, we are so used to seeing the Disney version of Alice, but now some games have been revealed to meet her as to become the Dark Alice. And so, I'm actually quite happy to see this, because Alice is no longer that sweet little virgin that we all know and love. So now she's a hateful bitch. Next, for criticals, we're playing 4 copies of Dark Knight of Nightmareland. He provides soul charging and gives your unit 3k power. And next, we're playing the newest addition to the family, is called 4 copies of Dee of Nightmareland. Tweedledee and Tweedledum are in this deck too, so don't be really surprised. Except they became nothing. Beforehand, they were nothing but fat asses in the cartoon series. Now, Bushiroad has decided to give them a new look, and I must say, they look fine young gentlemen. Even though this one's quite deadly. Treasure Break 1 for active skill. Put this unit into your soul. If you have a Vanguard with Nightmareland in its name, choose either one of your units, and it gets 1,000 power for each card with Nightmareland in your soul until the end of turn. If the unit chosen by this effect is Dum of Nightmareland, draw a card. So, Dee and Dum are usually together, are teammates in this one. Because they're technically twin brothers. They're Tweedledee, Tweedledum, so that's why. But if the unit was chosen by this was Dum, that we get a card. We get to draw a new card. So I like the new effect. And then finally, we're playing 4 copies of my favorite stand trigger, Dark Queen of Nightmareland. Because back then, I loved her look, and she was like an evil queen. But her skill is a little bit more deadly too. When attack hits during the battle, this unit boosted, you may soul charge a card. And if you do, return this card into your deck and shuffle it. So, like Rainbow Magician in Pale Moon, she does the exact same ability. So, she boosts a unit, and if it hits, you soul charge one. And this unit goes back into the deck and reshuffle. So you can keep using her again and again and again. Now, some people may think, why not play Monochrome of Nightmareland? I probably would, but the thing is, I just don't like that cat. Like, the ability is okay, but I prefer to just go with something more human-based. I'm not being racist or anything, I'm just saying, you know, Dark Queen is just like my thing. We have a Dark Alice and a Dark Queen, so there's no need to get all hyped up over nothing. Next for grade 1s, we're playing 4 copies of Dormouse of Nightmareland, which I don't seem to recall a Dormouse as ever being part of the Nightmareland series or the Alice in Wonderland series, so they might have added him into a new twist. But his skill is GB1 and rest this unit. Choose one of your vanguards and it gets 1,000 power for each unit card. For each card with Nightmareland in your soul until the end of turn. When this unit is put into a drop zone from rearguard, soul charge 1. Then, if that is during your turn, choose one of your units with Nightmareland in its card name, and it gets 4,000 power into your turn. So you get a free soul charge as when he leaves the field. So when he leaves the field, you soul charge 1. And you can choose one of our units with Nightmareland, and it gets 4,000 power. That is not really a bad thing. I wish it would be like 5,000, but you gotta use what you gotta use. Next, of course, this is the same kind of build, you know, we all kind of know and I'm familiar with, is 4 copies of the Stride Enablers, Succubus Pair Love. She's in here just for striding. 4 Flat Breakers, Flag Breakers, and 2 Dimension Creepers, just to get that synergy of the soul synergizing. So, that's no surprising. And, like I said, most of the cards in here is like, as long as you have a Nightmareland in your soul, their effects might have been going off and you might get a few lucks. Which is the deck was really all about. Next for grade 2s, we're playing 4 copies of Dum of Nightmareland. The twin brother of Dee. Dum. Except that he was the controller of fire. Dum is controller of ice. And his skill is GB1. If Dee of Nightmareland is in your soul, this unit gets plus 2,000 power. So, and that's a continuous effect. So he'd be at 11k by himself most of the time. It's kind of like a cross ride, but except for grade 2s. His other skill is, when this unit attacks a vanguard, if this unit gets plus 2,000 power for each card named Dum of Nightmareland in your soul in that battle. Okay, so if you have at least two Ds in the soul, he gets 2,000 additional more power. Or 4,000 power. So that would be 6,000 power altogether. Next for grade 2, we're playing 4 copies of Demonted Executioner. Because every Queen of Mad Queen needs to have an Executioner. So Demonted is in here as well. The best thing about him is he's very versatile in any deck. Blade Wings, Shower Rod, this deck, whatever tickles your pickle. And his skill is Darkness, 1 turn. If the number of cards in your soul is 6 or more, this unit gets plus 2,000 power until the end of that turn. And if the number of cards in your soul is 10 or more, he gets plus 3,000 power. So Darkness, he gets himself 5,000 power for as long as you have 10 cards in the soul. When this unit is placed on a rearguard circle, look at top 7 cards of your deck. From among top 7 cards of your deck, search for up to 1 card with this Darkness ability. From among them, place into your soul and shuffle your deck. And since we don't even hardly run any Darkness monsters in here at all, basically, wait, hold on a second. I might have just misplaced one. Hold up. Fuck up. Okay, we don't. So, Demonted Executioner, if you have another copy of him, if you're lucky to pull him in the soul, that's when the effect kicks in. Because right now, Demonted Executioner is the only Darkness I have. So that I didn't think of that at the time, but you know what? We all fuck up sometimes, right? Next, for 3 copies of Blood Sacrifice Ruthven for our final grade 2s. Discard, and his skill is a lovable one because it doesn't require a generation break. His skill is choose a card from your hand and discard it. When this unit is placed in a rearguard circle, if you have at least 4 cards in your soul, 4 more cards in the soul, you draw a free card and you soul charge 1. So to me, that actually is a very plus on that one. That's a big plus. I don't know what anybody else think of him, but I think he's a very awesome card to have. So, there's grade 2s. And finally, for grade 3s, we're playing the main queen herself. She may not look like it, but she is the Mad Queen of Nightmareland. This is the Queen of Nightmareland, Hartrud. Listen, this is the funny thing. We have a Dark Queen of Nightmareland in as a stand trigger, and now we have a grade 3 Queen of Nightmareland. The Queen of Hearts, which means, and we all know how the Queen of Heart acts like, so, right? She's a very spoiled brat. But, anyways, her skill is Generation Break 1. Carablast 1, choose one of your unit rearguards and retire it. When this unit attacks or is attacked, you may pay the cost, and if you do, this unit gets plus 1,000 power for each card with Nightmareland in your soul until you end the battle. So, you can use this skill basically anytime you want. Like, that's the funny thing. You can use it when she's being attacked or when she attacks. Just so long as you have any Nightmareland cards in your soul. And her strength grows. So, it doesn't really kind of matter what your opponent does. Like, basically, she's not going to go anywhere. And then for grade 3, we're playing the Sweet Predator. And the reason why we're playing her is because the number of soul charging you do, she gets stronger for it. It's like for every card that goes into the soul, she gets 3,000 power. And since she's a grade 3 11k attacker, this is easy. She goes for a Vanguard and Rearguard and Generation Break. I love it. So, there's no Strikebreaker for this, but you know what? Who the fuck cares? Because this is awesome. So, anyways. That's the main deck. And now for the G units, we're playing ladies first. 4 copies of Love Tempest, Kisskill, Lira. The Succubus Stride, and the only female Stride I have for this deck. And her skill is, when this unit attacks hits a Vanguard, you may soul charge 2 cards. Then, if the number of cards in your soul is 6 or more, you may draw a card. So this deck is basically all about drawing cards. Like, it helps you get a bigger hand. But it only depends if the attack hits and whatever. That's just the kind of thing. But now, she's normally a generic Stride, but since we're playing a female, like, Nightmareland deck, I'm doing whatever I can to try to make this a little bit better for everybody. So now, we're playing 4 copies of Abominable 1, Rais. And we all know what he does by now, like, he's a lovable 1. You flip 1 copy of Rais face up in your G-zone, face up. And if the number of cards in your soul is 6 or more, or 10 or more, this unit gets plus 10,000 power in that turn. Then, if the number of cards in your soul is 15 or more, this unit gets a glory skill, which means your opponent can't call any grade 1 or higher units to a Guardian Circle. Then, if the number of face-up cards in your G-zone is 2 or more, this unit gets also plus 1 critical. Which I'm not complaining about one bit, because that's why he's a very awesome killer. And also one turn OTK kind of turn for that. Next we're playing 4 copies of Rebellious Fraternal Flesh Blood Frederick. And his skill is when he's placed in a Vanguard circle, you take 1 card out of your hand and shove it into the soul. This unit gets plus 1,000 power for every card in your soul. If the number of cards in your soul is if this unit gets 10,000 power, this unit gets plus 10,000 power if you have like 10 cards in the soul at least. But normally, if the total number of power is 10,000 or greater, you can grant all your rear guards 5,000 power in that turn, and this effect can only be used once. So it kind of depends how you see it, but you can still use a new one every time. Finally, we're playing 4 copies of the G Guardian Nighttime Gentleman Saint Germaine. If the number of total cards is 10 or more, add 10,000 power to his shield. Then if the number of cards in your soul is 15 or more, you can choose as many number of units on your rear guard and give them resist. And I think that's pretty badass if you ask me. So, I'm starting to like these new G Guardians that we're getting for each of our clans. And I know some people may not like them because they're just used their own ways. Like, you know what? Who gives a fuck? Anyways, guys, that is the complete conclusion and the complete deck profile debut of Nightmarelands. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about this deck. You guys think it may be a little bit more different? What your thoughts are? You know, the whole shebang. Just use your mind a little bit. Anyways, guys, I'm Siren Frost. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for your support. And be sure to look at... And... I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, be sure to subscribe, like this video, thumbs up for it, comment down below, and rate this video. And do me a favor, guys, please go check out my other deck profiles on my channel, and check out my videos to see what you guys your thoughts are. Anyways, guys, I'm Siren Frost. Thank you guys for watching. Love you all. Peace.